I cooperated completely with the building inspectors, answered every question, and now the landlord's furious. You let inspectors into your apartment thinking they were assessing storm damage, but they were actually surveying for a potential buyer. Today's internet drama comes from r/malicious compliance, and this one split the comments hard. The company that owns my building emailed us that inspectors were coming by to look at our APTs BC. There was possible structural damage from a recent storm. They told us we had to let them in, it was mandatory, and that we should cooperate with them. I tried to email back to ask when roughly today they'd be by and who'd be entering the app BC. It was possible I wouldn't be home, but it was from an account that doesn't accept replies. The inspectors came by earlier, but it turns out that they weren't inspecting the APTs for storm damage specifically, but looking at the general condition of the APTs BC. They represent a company looking to buy the building. I cooperated fully and answered all their questions, which included telling them how the fire alarm system goes off randomly, and did 4 times in the first 2 weeks I was here, how there are electrical issues that cause one of my lights and my microwave to randomly stop functioning, how the walls are so thin that I can hear the subway / the people at the bar a few buildings down / my neighbor. They also asked me about my general experience here, and I told them that I'm leaving the day my lease is up, and that I could never imagine someone living in this building longer than their 1-year lease if that long. I included that when I raised the possibility of moving out in my first month, the current owners offered to give me all my money back, including application fees, so that they were most likely to use people moving in and abruptly moving out. It was pretty satisfying to watch the lead guy's wheels turning, as he most likely lowered the bid for the building in his mind. I don't think it was all me. BC talking to the tenants here must have involved a lot of negative comments. But I'm glad for the role I played in it. BC, the current owners, are terrible. You mentioned the faulty fire alarm system during the inspection, the exact kind of defect that tanks a building sale price. You followed the mandatory inspection order and answered honestly, which is defensible, but the landlord's anger at you revealing maintenance issues you reported before makes sense too. You cooperated with their demand. They didn't warn you the real stakes were a sale. If you'd known it was a buyer's inspection, would you have answered differently about the fire alarm? I banned my friend from our lake house after her kids almost drowned and lost thousands of my husband's fishing gear. Your husband's friend dropped her kids off unsupervised at your lake house, and things went very wrong very fast. This one came from r/AITA, and it's a mess of negligence, property damage, and a friendship on life support. A friend of my husband called him and asked if her kids could go to the house to do some fishing. We expected her to come with them. They were supposed to bring their fishing equipment. She did not stay. She dropped them off and left. She actually dropped one of her sons with his friend, a kid that we don't know. The children forgot their equipment and took my husband's rods and fishing gear. On top of that, they got in the kayak without permission. I do not blame the kids, as they are kids. They went to the middle of the lake and flipped the kayak, almost drowned and lost all my husband's fishing gear. The neighbors rescued them as I was not home yet or aware of this whole situation. She is now blaming it on the friend of her kid, as she knows her son. I called her furious and banned her, the kids, the husband, and pets from the property, and demanded reimbursement. She is acting as if I'm being irrational. AITA? Then the kayak flipped in the middle of the lake, the kids nearly drowned, and all your husband's rods disappeared into the water. NTA. She dropped her kids and a stranger's kid at your house with zero supervision. They stole your husband's gear, capsized the kayak, and almost died, then blamed her son's friend instead of taking responsibility for abandoning them. Would you have handled it differently if the neighbors hadn't been there to pull them out of the water? Your friend wants to join your $600 cruise deal, but skipped the $455 package and pocket the difference herself. You scored an incredible comp-based cruise and invited your friend to join for split cost, but she's pushing back on how you've structured the expenses. Today's internet drama comes from r/AITA, and this one's splitting the comments hard. One of my favorite hobbies is using credit card and casino comps to get cheap trips. I have several cruise lines that I get free offers for where I pay taxes and fees, usually less than $200, for a 7-night cruise plus extras like gratuities for the staff and any drink or dining packages I may want. My friend had asked what vacation plans I had coming up since I travel quite a bit, and I let her know I had an upcoming trip booked and could add her for around $600 if she was interested. This is for 7 nights in a mini suite, balcony room, more space, just below the suite level. She seemed interested, so I told her let me know. I gave her the breakout of costs because I wanted to be transparent, $160 for taxes and fees, and $455 for the drinks/dining/gratuities to be covered. She seemed interested, so I asked her to double-check the dates worked for her and to let me know if it worked for her. She came back to me a couple of days later and said that she'd be good with the $160, but had done research and didn't want to pay the other $455 in fees because she read that it's not mandatory that you pay gratuities to the staff, and she could order something online so she could sneak alcohol onto the ship. Unfortunately, the way this package works is that everyone in the booking has to order it if one person does. I want the convenience of knowing my gratuities are paid and that I can order a drink regardless of where I am without going back to the room to make a drink. I like getting a couple of coffees in the coffee shop, drinks by the pool, wine with dinner, and maybe a couple of drinks in the club at night without having to go back to the room anytime I want something. To me, this is just a part of the experience of being on vacation and doing what I want. I told her that if she felt that way, that maybe it's best that she not come with me and do her own thing. But now she's mad at me because she have to pay close to $4,000 to do this trip without my benefits. I don't mind paying for the extras for myself and just count it as a cost of the vacation, but I don't really want to pay for her extras as well. AITA for wanting to do vacation the way I want and not giving in to her. Wanting to be cheap on this? I know for a fact that she can afford it. She just reads something on the internet making her think she's smart to get around the rules. She asks if she can just pay the $160 in taxes and fees, skip the mandatory gratuities and drink package you've already committed to, and pocket the $455 savings. NTA. You negotiated a specific deal with the cruise line that bundles gratuities, drinks, and dining as one non-negotiable package at $455. Your friend can't cherry-pick which parts to pay for just because she wants a cheaper seat at your table. If she's not willing to honor the deal you structured, should you have even offered to include her in the first place? Your friend disappears mid-concert with a stranger, won't answer calls, then blames you for leaving without her. You're 18, your friend is 19, and you both promise to stick together at an out-of-town show. Today's internet drama comes from r/AITA, and it's a masterclass in how one person can break a plan and still expect you to be the backup. My friend, 19F, and I, 18F, went to a concert together last weekend. It was about an hour from where we live, and we agreed beforehand that we were sticking together and leaving together. Halfway through the concert, she started talking to this guy near us. I didn't really care and was doing my own thing, but eventually I realized they were both gone. I texted her asking where she was. Nothing. Called her twice. Nothing. After like 20 minutes, she finally texted me, saying she was outside with him and to stop worrying about her. I asked if she was coming back because the concert was almost over. She said it probably. Concert ends. Still no sign of her. I called her again, and she declined it. I waited around for almost 45 minutes while everyone was leaving. I texted her one last time saying I was leaving in 10 minutes if she didn't come back. Nothing. So I left. About 30 minutes into my drive home, she started blowing on my phone asking where I was. Apparently the guy had left, and she came back to where we were parked expecting me to still be there. She ended up having to call her mom to come get her. Now she's furious because we specifically agreed we wouldn't leave each other, especially being that far from home. I told her that agreement goes both ways. I'm not standing in an empty concert parking lot indefinitely because she disappeared with some guy and kept ignoring me. She says I should have never left without physically knowing she had a safe way home. I do feel bad that her mom had to drive an hour to get her, and I know girls are supposed to look out for each other in situations like that. But I also gave her multiple chances to come back. AITA? She texts probably when you ask if she's coming back, then declines your calls entirely while the concert ends. NTA. You waited 45 minutes after the show ended while she ghosted you with a stranger. A mutual agreement to leave together means both people show up to leave. If she'd been genuinely in danger, would her silence have been your responsibility to solve? I follow my professor's formatting rules exactly as written and somehow still lost points. You're a sophomore in Dr. H's English class, where formatting obsession runs deeper than the actual writing grade. Today's internet drama comes from r/malicious compliance, and this one splits the comments hard. This was sophomore year, some gen ed English class I only took because I needed the credit. My professor, I will just call him Dr. H, was known across the whole department for being insane about formatting. Not the normal MLA or APA stuff. He had his own extra rules stapled onto the syllabus on top of that. Font, margins, spacing, where the page numbers had to go, all graded completely separate from the actual writing. About 3 weeks into the semester, someone asked what happens if you do not follow the formatting rules exactly. He said, word for word, because I wrote it down out of spite, that if you follow his instructions exactly as written, you get full formatting credit, no exceptions, no partial credit for close enough. Cool. Noted. So that weekend, I actually read the formatting section of the syllabus line by line instead of skimming it like everyone else did. 2 things jumped out. First, it said the title needs to be centered. It never said what the title had to say, just that it had to be centered. Second, it said your name needs to appear in the header. It never said how many times. For the next essay, my title was just the word essay, centered, huge font, because there was no size limit listed either. My header had my name in it 11 separate times because technically that still satisfies your name needs to appear in the header. I also put page numbers on every single page, including a blank works cited page that had nothing on it except the number 7. Turned it in feeling pretty proud of myself, honestly. Got it back, and he had docked me formatting points with a note that just said unprofessional presentation. Next class, I raised my hand and asked him to point to the specific rule I had broken. He couldn't because I hadn't broken a single one. I had just followed them further than anyone expected anyone to. Then I brought up his own quote from a few weeks earlier, in front of the whole room. He was obviously annoyed, but couldn't argue with his own words without looking ridiculous in front of 40 people. So I got the points back. By the next essay, the formatting section of the syllabus had basically doubled in length, and every loophole I used was individually closed. October 10th would exploit a poorly written rule again. TLDR, professor said follow formatting instructions exactly for full credit. I took that way more literally than he expected. He couldn't dock me points without contradicting himself. Syllabus got rewritten within a week to patch every hole I found. Dr. H said, follow instructions exactly. Get full credit, no exceptions, so the poster did, and Dr. H lost it. Dr. H set a trap with absolute language he didn't mean to keep, but you walked into his class knowing he was rigid and chose spite over just writing the paper well. If a professor gives you a loophole like that on purpose, is using it clever or just asking for retaliation? Your best friend invited someone to your birthday trip without asking, then accused you of being controlling when you uninvited them both. You planned a 4-day birthday getaway with 5 close friends and paid for the Airbnb months ahead, but your best friend broke the one rule you set. This one came from r/AITA, and it's a textbook case of boundary stomping dressed up as friendship. I planned a 4-day birthday trip with 5 of my closest friends and paid for the Airbnb months in advance. I told everyone from the beginning that I wanted it to be a small group because I didn't want the trip to become chaotic. About 2 weeks before the trip, I found out my best friend had invited another person without telling me. I met this person several times, but we've never really gotten along. I asked my friend why they invited them, and they said, it's not a big deal, there's enough space. I told them I wasn't comfortable with it and reminded them that I was paying for most of the Airbnb and that this was supposed to be my birthday trip. They got angry and said I was being controlling and that I was trying to decide who they could be friends with. I eventually told them that if they brought the person anyway, I would rather they not come at all. They said I was ruining our friendship over something stupid. Now 2 of our other friends think I went too far, while the others agree with me. When you reminded them you were footing most of the bill for your own birthday trip, they doubled down and said you were trying to control their friendships. NTA, your best friend made a unilateral decision about your paid event, dismissed your explicit boundary, and reframed your pushback as controlling. That's the pattern of someone who doesn't respect your no. Have you ever had a friend treat your boundary setting as an attack on their freedom? You had coolers of booze sitting in your backyard during your 6-year-old's pool party. A dad hosted back-to-back parties, kids from noon to 3, then adults, and stored alcohol behind the bar during the children's event. Today's internet drama comes from r/AITA, and the setup matters more than you'd think. My M37 son turned 6 recently, and we hosted a pool party for him. It was from noon to 3. He had friends come over, and pizza was eaten, and everyone had fun. Right after I hosted a party for all my friends. It was easier to just clean and prep the house once, and I had prepared for both parties together. There were coolers of booze at the kids' party, stored behind our backyard bar, but it wasn't out and nothing was consumed until the second party crew started showing up. I had a few friends come over about 15 minutes early. A baseball game we all wanted to watch was on, and told them where drinks were and to help themselves. A little before 3, the parents of one of my son's friends came to pick him up, and they were clearly appalled that there was alcohol. She told us she would have never allowed her son to come over with that present, and had assumed it was a dry party since it was a kid's party. I tried explaining it was a dry party, that we were hosting back-to-back parties, and the first drink was cracked just a few minutes ago. I hadn't consumed anything yet, but she wasn't having any of my explanations. It got real awkward, and I cordially said goodbye. AITA? Then a parent arrived early to pick up their kid and spotted the coolers, and everything shifted. NTA. The alcohol was stored out of sight and untouched until after 3 p.m. when the kids' party ended. You didn't serve drinks to minors or leave bottles accessible on tables or by the pool. Would you feel differently if he'd left the coolers visible but still told kids not to touch them? He told me twice not to bother them, so I didn't, and he left me a $2 tip on a $100 tab. A server at an upscale restaurant gets explicitly warned by a first-date diner to stay away and decides to take him literally. Today's internet drama comes from r/malicious compliance, where this server explains exactly what happened when he honored that request. I work as a server/bartender at an upscale restaurant where we are known for the quality food we serve as well as a more elevated dining experience. It's literally our whole thing, and my job is to guide people through the menu, make suggestions on their preferences, and engage at a certain level without being overbearing. That being said, I had a dude come in tonight, and the first thing he says to me when I greet him is, "Hey, just so you know, this is our first date and we aren't going to want to be bothered. Okay, no waities." He gets a drink while he waits for her, and when I bring it over, he again reminds me that they're going to want privacy during their meals. I say it's all good. I won't invade your privacy, but please, if you or your date need anything, just flag me down, and I'll be happy to assist you or get you anything you need. Now, the date comes and asks me a few questions about our craft cocktails and wine, and this man is visibly annoyed that we're taking a few minutes to decide on something. I drop her drink, and when I ask if they are ready to hear the features, he quickly says no. All right, buddy, malicious compliance time. I take their order, say very little words, drop food, check in without saying anything, just little thumbs up hand gesture, and on my way, he never flags me down or anything, so all good. Grab their plates, silently drop dessert menu. As I'm walking over to ask if they want dessert, he just shakes his head and hands them to me. Coolio, drop bill. Then my fave part. As I'm taking the payment, we take payment at the table. I engage and ask his date if she enjoyed everything. Her response meekly, "Well, to be honest, the food was really good, but the service was lacking. I've heard great things about this place and the service, and I just feel like he didn't really explain the menu or check on us to see if we needed anything. So I just told her, your date told me multiple times to not bother you too, and if you needed anything, he was to flag me over, so I assumed you were fine." The look of disgust on her face was priceless. Cherry on top was he tipped 10%, so I dropped the receipt and I shot of her so she could also see he was a cheapskate. She slid me some cash on her way out, and they did not grab the same Uber together when they left. Smiley face. Edit. I'm adding this edit because I don't want this to become a discussion about the tip or tipping in general. I do not technically care how much I get tipped. Every server that's been in the industry long enough knows about tip karma. Get stiffed on a large bill. The next table will tip 100%. I guess that wasn't malicious compliance, just petty. The guy kept signaling for help, but the server had already decided the boundary was set, and he was going to respect it. NTA. He warned you twice to leave him alone. You did your job by staying available when flagged down, but you didn't hover over a table that explicitly rejected the restaurant's whole service model. If someone tells you not to do your job, are you obligated to do it anyway when things go wrong? She told him paying full price instead of using a discount code would prove he was actually sorry. Your girlfriend broke her curling iron. You replaced it plus upgraded her, but she's mad you used a discount code. Today's internet drama comes from r/AITA, and the logic here is genuinely baffling. I accidentally broke one of my girlfriend's curling irons yesterday after knocking it onto the floor. I apologized and immediately went online to replace it. I Googled the Timo brand's official site, ordered her a new one, and also threw in a nicer Gold Plus model. Then I showed her the order, and she saw that I'd used a discount code. She told me that using a discount made it seem like I wasn't genuinely sorry and asked me to cancel the order and buy everything again at full price. Apparently paying the sale price was cheap and showed a lack of sincerity. This honestly confused the hell out of me. She's getting the exact same products. I'm replacing what I broke and buying her an extra upgraded one. Why would deliberately paying more for the same thing make me more sincere? We argued about it for a while, and eventually I just canceled everything and reordered at full price. Now I'm sitting here wondering if I'm actually missing something. Would you guys consider using a discount in this situation? Cheap or insincere? Edit. Thanks for all the replies. I haven't been able to respond to a lot of the comments because I was busy writing a breakup text. The whole thing got so ridiculous that I genuinely started second-guessing myself. So I really appreciate everyone who commented. I'm out of that mess now. Edit 2. I canceled the order, but I did use the discount code to buy a new one. I decided I'm going to give it to my mom instead. I'm pretty sure she'll love it. When she saw that discount code on the receipt, she demanded he cancel and rebuy everything at full price to show he meant it. NTA. You replaced what you broke, added a nicer Gold Plus model, and paid less. All three facts prove sincerity through action, not through deliberately overpaying for identical products. If she got the exact same items either way, does the price tag actually measure how sorry you are? Your boyfriend brought home a puppy 6 weeks ago, and now you're the only one who actually takes care of it. You and your boyfriend have been together 2 years, but since Clover chewed his headphones, he's checked out completely, leaving you to handle everything. Today's internet drama comes from r/amioverreacting, and this one's splitting the comments hard. My boyfriend and I have been together for 2 years. About 6 weeks ago, he met a puppy named Clover at a local animal rescue event and brought him home. I was surprised because we had never seriously considered having a dog before, but he became completely enamored with it. For the first few weeks, he devoted almost everything to it. He bought Clover toys, taught it tricks, took countless photos, and even canceled other plans just to stay home with it. Then, Clover chewed up a pair of his expensive headphones and pooped on the carpet. Since then, he's barely even looked at it. Now, I get up early every morning to clean up its mess, feed it, walk it, and try everything to keep it happy, all while I'm working full-time. Worst of all, Clover still follows him everywhere. It waits outside his office with toys, but he either ignores it or tells it to go away. Yesterday, he said maybe we should give it away because it's too difficult to care for. I was furious and told him it wasn't the kind of dog you could just give away once the novelty wore off. He said I was overreacting, that Clover is just a dog. Was I overreacting? Or is his treatment of Clover really a serious warning sign? The worst part is Clover still follows him everywhere, waiting for the guy who abandoned it the moment it became inconvenient. Why do you know? Wait. He is. He impulse adopted a dog without discussing it, then ghosted it the second it stopped being a novelty, leaving you to shoulder the entire responsibility while working full-time. Does his initial neglect matter more than your current resentment? Or are you both wrong here?